Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I would like to at this time call to order our monthly meeting of the Charles City County Board of Supervisors, this being our December meeting. I would like to say the Pledge of Allegiance, and then I have a few housekeeping notes that I would like to make before we get started. At this time, I'd like to say the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Tonight we are doing a fully virtual meeting. I am actually not in the same room with my colleagues due to the fact that I have a pretty severe cold, so I have distanced myself from them. So tonight, gentlemen, if you all, when I asked if you have any questions or whatever, if you can just give me hand gestures or whatever to let me know. We're going to relax the rules somewhat tonight. And if you all have comments or whatnot to make, and Dr. Russell is going to be administering our meeting tonight in place of Michelle Johnson. This is her first meeting, and I know she's excited about that. So we'll get through this as best we can. And one last minute, Miranda, if you will, please, over in the comment section, please put a comment over there that only comments to be read during public comment period should be posted in our comment section on our page. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Russell.
Good evening, Mr. Cota, Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, members of our community who were present. Okay. Mr. Cota would like to propose some changes to the agenda that was posted. We'd like to first ask if you would consider moving the resolution, which is item A under County Administrative Report, to item 6B, right under the public hearing for the local innovation grant. We'd also like to ask if you would consider adding item M under County Administrative Report for employee recognition.
Okay, let's make the item number A out of the county administrator's report. Let's make that item 5A so that we don't have to redo the rest of the agenda on down past that, if that's okay with you.
5A.
5A.
Okay.
And that'll be the food pantry resolution. And so we will strike that out of the county administrator's report. And you would like to, I would like to go ahead and Dr. Russell, if it's okay, I know that you have given me the recess meeting policy, and I would like to actually strike that from the agenda. And so we'll make, if it's good with you, we will make item H, employee recognition, if that works for you.
It works. It does work.
All right, then that's what we will do. And we will bring back the recess meeting policy at our January meeting. All right, gentlemen, do you all have any other additions or anything to the agenda? All right, then I guess that the floor is open for a motion to adopt the agenda with the corrections as noted.
Mr. Chairman.
All right, is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
My vote is aye. Dr. Russell?
Our next item on the agenda is our consent agenda items, Mr. Chairman, which include approval of our November 24th Board of Supervisors minutes, approval of invoices for CH2M Hill, and our quarterly appropriations beginning January 2021.
All right, gentlemen, if there's no changes to the consent agenda, floor is open for a motion.
Chairman, I move that the consent agenda be approved as presented.
All right, is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
And my vote is aye. Dr. Russell, under presentations, which is our next item, the VDOT monthly report, Mr. Wynn was not able to get in on the virtual call with us tonight. However, his report is available. And if my colleagues have any questions or whatever, I would ask that they contact Mr. Wynn directly. And if anyone from the audience would like to asked any questions or whatever, please just give Miranda a call through the week, and she can get those questions over to Mr. Wynn, and she will have those answered and get those back to you. So with that, Dr. Russell, I guess that will take us to item B under presentations.
Mr. Cota, with your permission, we did have a citizen provide a written statement for comments for VDOT. May I read that statement?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this is to the Board of Supervisors. It's dated December 22nd, and it's from a Mr. Edwin Moore, and he has two items. Number one, for VDOT, 6300 Roxbury Road, we need some stone at the top of the lane at 106. Number two, I'd like to bring to the attention that some contractor has sprayed some kind of weed and tree killer on both sides of 106 from the Chickahominy River to the James River. And number three, the spraying has killed the special hedge and fence roses at 6300 Roxbury Road, 30 feet from the center of the road, 10 feet high on the bank. And he believes that this needs to be brought to the attention of DEQ, Virginia Game and Inland Fisheries, Fish and Wildlife Services, Harrison Lake, and the Chesapeake Bay Authority. And that concludes Mr. Moore's statement.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Russell. And if you will make sure that those are forwarded over to Marshall Wynn tomorrow, that would be great.
Okay. I'm more than happy to do that. We're ready to move forward, Mr. Cota, to
Yes, ma'am.
COVID-19 update. So as of December 22nd, 2020, Charles City County has 0 COVID-19 cases open. We've had 8 deaths. We have closed 161 COVID-19 cases, and we have a cumulative of 169 members of our community impacted by COVID-19.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You can continue right on, Dr. Russell, with the agenda.
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Cota, is a presentation by Mr. Aaron Hawkins from Robinson Farmer Cox regarding the county's fiscal year audit.
Mr. Hawkins, the floor is yours.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? Or just can someone verify that everyone can hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. So I'm going to kind of just go through the process from the audit, and I've highlighted a few pages in the report to go over with you, and then I'll open it for any questions that anyone has. So this year, the audit, it presented quite a bit of a challenge in terms of how we do our field work. You know, with everything going on with COVID, that was right around, I would say, you know, when things really started picking up, right when we would normally be doing our field work, preliminary field work, just like in the springtime, like May, June. And so we did as much as we could remotely from our office in Richmond. And I think we came on site for maybe one day to do the BRS compliance work that we had to do. And came back for final with what I would consider to be a normal team of our auditors, being compliant with all the you know, the rules and regulations of wearing masks and distancing from other staff as we needed to. And we got through our final field work in relatively decent shape. I'm hoping that everyone has a copy of the financial report in front of them. Mm-hmm. And stop me if you need to stop me, but otherwise I'm going to kind of just go through and go over some pages that I have flagged.
Aaron, we actually got the copies today, so everybody should have the audit in front of them.
Okay, good. All right. So in case anyone's looking at a PDF rather than one of those hard copy documents, when I say a page number, I'm going to tell you the page number at the bottom is if you're looking at a hard copy, and I'm also going to tell you the PDF page number, which can be a little bit different as you're scrolling through a PDF. So the first page is page 1 on the bottom if you're looking at a hard copy, and if you're in a PDF, it's going to be PDF page 11. And this is our auditor's report within your financial statements. And really on the second page is where we have our opinion paragraph. And our opinion is that based on our testing, that we feel that these financial statements are free of any material misstatement. Based on our testing and based on the final trial balance that we arrived at, we got to a good point on these numbers in terms of being accurate and correct. So the next page I have highlighted is going to be page 4 at the bottom. And if you're following along a PDF page 15, this is your management's discussion and analysis. And this is just like a 4 or 5 page section of the report that highlights certain figures that could be useful information for you, changes in your fund balance. One thing that I think is useful is there's a couple of tables within this NDNA that show basically a current year to prior year comparison, which I think is useful. And really, you don't see that anywhere else in the report because it's not something you would normally see in a county's financial report. This is really the only place where you can really see this side by side current year to prior year comparison. Next page I have is going to be page 15, and if you're following along in a PDF, page 33. And this is your changes in your fund balance for the year for your general fund. And your general fund started off a little bit over $10 million, went up about a little over $900,000 to be just shy of $11 million at the end of the year. Of that $10,944,399, $7,235,000 of that is unassigned, which means that it's for use at the county's discretion. The next page I have is beginning on page 103, and if you're following along in a PDF, it's PDF page 137. But on 103, that's the schedules 1 and 2 are there, and I think that's useful information for you as board members to see how line by line each amount or each account performed as actual numbers versus the budget numbers. I think it's also probably a pretty useful tool when preparing your budget for the next year, seeing what your actual numbers compared to what you budgeted, and then what your final appropriation numbers were for the end of the year. Next page I have is page 118, and if you're in a PDF, it's page 155. And this is something that I normally just show to every presentation that I do. It's the tax collections over the past 10 years. And for this year, FY20, and if you're looking at a PDF, you kind of have to like tilt your head to see it, or you can obviously click the button to make it rotate for you. But FY20 is the bottom line on that table, and the collection percentage was just slightly less than last year, but pretty much in line with the past couple years or past few years in terms of just shy of 95% of your levy being collected. With the total percentage to the total levy about 96.37%. And then the next page I have is page 122, and this is where you start seeing our name at the top of the pages again. And on pages 122 and 123, that's where we have to issue our report on internal control testing and compliance. And basically, this is where we would identify any issues that we have in the audit that needed to go in the report. And we did this year. It's actually the 3rd year in a row that we've had this deficiency identified as a material weakness, which is you'll see it in the bottom paragraph as being called 2020-001. I'll show you where that shows up later on in the report. On pages 124 and 125, and this is PDF pages 163 and 164. This is where you see our name at the top again, and this is where we have our report and opinion on the federal compliance testing that we have to do. And from that area, we had no issues. This was a completely unmodified opinion. and that we had no findings to report from our federal compliance testing. And then on the last page I have flagged is page 130, and it's PDF page 169 if you're following along the PDF. And it's the third year that we've had to have this material weakness reported, and it's not a good thing. And it's really the finance department, in my opinion, needs help when it comes to really knowing what they need to do to prepare for an audit in terms of getting all the accruals posted, all the necessary adjustments that have to be made to be ready for the audit. In terms of really just a wide array of journal entries that we have to post as auditors to kind of give you an idea of what our process is. We get a trial balance from your accounting system to start our audit with. And then as auditors, what we want to do is go down that trial balance and verify that all these numbers are correct. Ideally, you'd have no journal entries necessary. Every number I went through, I would say, "Oh, that's a good number. That's a good number. That's a good number." But that's not the case with what we've been dealing with. And to kind of give you a background on the amount of journal entries that we've had to do to get from this original trial balance to what we actually put in your financial report. In FY20, we had 53 journal entries that we had to do. I'm going to kind of go over the last 5 years. In FY20, we had 53. In FY19, we had 35. FY18, we had 37. FY17, we had 22. And FY16, we had 8. So you kind of see the trend in the direction that we're headed. And my just completely professional and honest opinion is that I think the finance department needs help to be able to successfully prepare for an audit. I just really do. The day-to-day operations, that it could be that's all going just perfectly fine, but there definitely needs to be help to avoid this happening again in the future. I know when I said that number, that 8 journal entries from FY16, that was probably the last year that Michelle was probably the finance director, and she had Sheila Miner coming in as a consultant to help her get ready. And so I think you really need to give some consideration to getting back to having that assistance in the finance department to avoid this. But that's all that I had to go over tonight, and now I will try to answer any questions that anyone has.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Gentlemen, do you have any questions for Mr. Hawkins this evening? It's a lot to digest, but Ms. Johnson and also Ms. Abby, we'll have discussions tomorrow and all, but overall, I think we look really, 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 really good, and I'm very pleased. But Mr. Hawkins, I do appreciate your suggestions, and that is something that we're definitely going to look into. The fact that Ms. Johnson had Minor and Associates in helping us back then was a very good point. So we will definitely take those considerations and those recommendations to heart. And we thank you for being here tonight and giving us the audit report.
All right. Thank you all.
All right. Dr. Russell?
Mr. Cota, Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, the next item on our agenda is the Food Insecurity Grant Award by the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. The specific grant is the Local Innovation Grant. And as we had previously reported to the board, Charles City County Administration applied for a $500,000 grant in the fall. We were notified of an award, and we were also at the same time notified of a number of additional administrative public hearing requirements prior to final grant contract issuance. And so those requirements included a requirement for 2 public hearings. The first one that we had on November 12th, and the second one was advertised for this evening. Consideration of a resolution for adoption by the Board of Supervisors, as well as acceptance of the grant application. And so at your guidance, Mr. Cota, can provide some additional level of detail, or we can consider public comments with respect to the grant award and the location of a food pantry on our old high school property off of Ruthville Road in Charles City County.
Okay, Dr. Russell, keep me, and we are on item D, food insecurity grant award. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. It is.
Okay. What do you need action taken by the board on this tonight?
We do. We need acceptance of the grant award of $500,000 from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. And we also, the next item is the public hearing required by the agency for the grant. Okay,
let's stick with the item D for right now. There were some changes made. There was a lot of speculation, a lot of 11th hour input as far as this food pantry. And so you need us to accept the $500,000 grant tonight. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Yes, sir. Grant award from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community
Okay, and that does have a $200,000 local match to it. Is that correct?
That is above the $500,000 award. $500,000 in cash from the agency. Yes, sir.
So we have to put up $200,000 ourselves in order to get the $500,000. All right, so I'm sort of confused just a second as to why we're going to have a public hearing on this next. Because we're talking about the same item. Is that correct or not?
It is the same item, yes, Mr. Cota.
All right. I think we're then at the discretion of the chairman, and I can change around the agenda at any point. I would like to have the public hearing on this and then come back to making the decision on this. I really think that if we're going to talk about the same issue and we're going to have a public hearing on it, we need to hear what the public might have to say.
Yes, sir.
Is that okay? Okay. So at the discretion of the chairman, what I would like to do is I would like to go ahead and move on to item number 5, which is the public hearing for the local innovation grant. And then after our public hearing, I would like to come back to item D for a motion for approval to accept it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right. Then at this time, we will go to item V, which is our public hearing, which is our local innovation grant. And I'm assuming that you have the presentation on that, Dr. Russell?
I do.
All right,
Yes,
go
sir.
ahead.
We're going to go ahead and say this is just a copy of the advertisements for the November 12th meeting and then our December 22nd meeting. The public hearing is intended to provide an explanation and a description of the Charles City County 2020 Local Innovation Grant application for community development block grant from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development. It is intended to seek the public's opinion regarding the use of these funds for the specified purpose. Charles City County is seeking this time. Charles City County is seeking funding from DHCD, and the funds are provided as a resource from the Virginia Department of, from the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, which has prescriptive requirements for what types of projects can be assisted and how they're to be funded. All projects must meet one of 3 broad national objectives, which include the benefit to low and moderate income households, the elimination of slum and blight, and urgent needs. Charles City County is proposing a food pantry to address our needs for food insecurity. We do not have a commercial retail food establishment within the boundaries of Charles City County. And the grant requires, if funded, that our food pantry would benefit at least 51% of patrons who visit the pantry must be low and moderate income. And so the funding agency has determined that from the launch of the food pantry, from the date the pantry is open, Charles City County would have 2 years to demonstrate compliance with that objective. That being 51% of our citizens that are served are low and moderate income persons. So the flow of CDBG funds from the Virginia Department of Housing and Community Development to Charles City County actually begins with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. There are a number of communities, they're much larger communities, are entitlement communities, and receive a direct allocation of community development block grant funds based on a formula. The small communities programs require that we submit competitive applications to fund specific projects, and this proposed project is a competitive application that was awarded. Mr. Cota mentioned that our application included a proposal for a local match of $200,000, and the programs or applications are more competitive when they include what we call skin in the game by the locality as well as benefactors in the community. This specific grant application, the total cost, we're estimating at about a little bit over $1 million. $500,000 would come from the grant itself, the funding agency, $200,000 from local revenues, and a little bit over $300,000 from local benefactors. We are pleased. Mr. Cota mentioned that there have been some changes to the grant application after the grant was submitted and awarded, and those have been positive changes in the nature of additional dollars or funding from local benefactors for the grant program. Mr. Cota, that concludes staff's comments with respect to the proposed grant.
You're muted, Mr. Cota.
Thank you very much. All right, gentlemen, do you all have any questions or comments for Dr. Russell before I open up the public hearing? All right, Miranda, can you give us the comment screen back on the right-hand side again? Okay. Okay. At this time, I will open up the public hearing on the local innovation grant that Ms. Russell just gave the overview and the presentation on. So I think we answered your question, Mrs. Smith. And this is just for comments only. We do not answer questions or whatever. We may at the very end when we come out of this, but this is just for comments. And so if you do have a comment about the local innovation grant that Dr. Russell just presented, please type it into the comment section at this time. All right, I don't actually, this is actually for comments, not questions. But I will get to that in just a minute, Ms. Robinson. I'm going to ask Dr. Russell. I'm going to, I do not see any more comments. So at this time, I will close the public hearing on the local innovation grant. And Dr. Russell, if you will answer Ms. Smith's question, is a $200,000 match a cash match or can it be in kind? And as far as Ms. Robinson, are we using any of taxpayers' money? Yes, we are. The $200,000 That is taxpayers' money that comes out of our general fund. Anytime we have a match on any grant that we get, that is taxpayers' money. The answer to that question is yes. So, Dr. Russell, if you would like to and answer the question of a cash match or in kind, and then we'll move on.
It is described as a cash match up to $200,000 plus in kind for administration of the grant. There requires staff support from our finance department, from county administration, perhaps even our public works department. So it would be above the 200,000, but with respect to the cash, it's 200.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Hicks, when we have public hearings or public comment period, we do not establish dialogue. Even in our in-person meetings, we accept comments from the public, and then lots of times, and most of the time, questions are answered, but not when they are asked. As far as the program will be implemented and all, Dr. Russell went over that at the beginning, and so at this time I will move on. Now I'm going to go back to item 4D, which is the Food Insecurity Grant Award, Dr. Russell, so that we can take action on accepting the grant. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen. At this time, we need board action on accepting the $500,000 Food Insecurity Grant as Dr. Russell presented to us earlier.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept the food insecurity grant, $500,000 from the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
All right. Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
And my vote is aye. One comment I would like to make before we move on. If you heard the audit report that was just given and all, and when it come down to our fund balances and all, when we very prudently spend the taxpayers' dollars, like one citizen pointed out, this food pantry is something that's going to help a tremendous amount of Charles City residents. The last time that I looked, 56% of our children were on free or reduced lunches at our schools. There are many people in Charles City that really truly wonder where their next meal might come from. And this is one way that the county can be proactive in assisting those people. So in my personal one board member opinion, this is the best money that can be spent. So that's how that we arrived to where we can afford to do the $200,000 match grant in order to get up to almost $1 million. So anyway, I'd like to move on. At this time, this will take us to our. I missed one, didn't I? I sure did. Dr. Russell.
Yes, sir. Mr. Coda, may I make a comment in response to a question that's posted in the comments? So there's a question posted in the comments to discuss the local benefactors. And to the extent that we can, what we'd like to share is that we have local parties that are supportive of the food pantry. In fact, reached out to the county administrator at the onset of our COVID-19 pandemic in the spring and stated they wanted to help. And so we have, I think, well, I know specifically $340,000 in cash donations from local benefactors who have requested, and we will respect their desire to remain anonymous.
All right.
So,
thank you very much, Dr. Russell. Anything else before we move on to the food pantry resolution? I think you have, Ms. Dr. Russell. We added that in?
The resolution, yes, sir. So in addition to acceptance of the grant award, the funding agency requires that the local body approve a resolution of support of the grant application, which attests to your support of the cash match that authorizes the county administrator to sign any and all documents for the grant, including the contract, as well as your declaration statements for consistency with policies as they relate to fair housing, equal employment opportunity, and the Section 3 requirements for use of local contractors, as well as Davis-Bacon labor standards compliance for minimum prescribed wages for skilled trade. So we would ask that the board approve the resolution submitted within your package, which cites all of those agreements with all of those items.
You say the resolution is in our package, Dr. Russell?
Yes, sir.
Where?
Should be in item 7, 6, 7, 8, item 8, and it's right behind. It's the first item. It's under county administrators report.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot that we moved it. I got you. I'd forgot that we had moved this over. Okay, so you were looking at the
Page 41. It's labeled 41.
Yep. I've got it. Okay, gentlemen, you have heard the action needed by the board on the resolution. If you don't have any questions, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the resolution for the food pantry be approved as presented.
All right, is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
And my vote is aye. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to our first public comment period on the right-hand side of the, on our right-hand side of the screen. If you would like to type in a comment to be read, please do so at this time. The comment section is open all night, only for the comments to be read by us during our comment sections, our public comment. We do have 2 public comment periods. We will have another one before the end of the meeting. So if you don't make it in on this one, you can always make it on the second one. But at this time, if you do, you can type in your comment on the right-hand side, and we will be more than happy to read out your comments. Ms. Smith, I'm going to consider that question that you asked earlier to be a comment so that we can address that. And you asked, will this new initiative work in conjunction with the food pantry currently operating in the county? So I'm going to consider that your comment. And if you do ask a question during comments, there's a very good chance that questions will be answered at the end of our meetings whenever we have our board directives and comments. Anyone else like to post a comment? Please do so at this time. I don't see any new ones coming on, but like I say, there is another public comment section at the end of our meeting that you will have a chance, and you're more than welcome to type those in at any time. Dominic White just said, will the old well station located on Wilcox Neck Road be discussed during this meeting? I think it will be. Any other comments that anyone would like? All right, at this time, I'm going to close the public comment period and we'll move on. Dr. Russell?
Mr. Coda, are we addressing the question at a later date or?
Yes, ma'am. All questions will be, we do not answer questions during comment period. We don't establish dialogue just like in a regular board meeting, but that we will, sometimes a lot of us, one of the three board members and even Mrs. Johnson or yourself can answer questions at the end during our comments and directives.
Thank you, Mr. Coda. The next item on the agenda, Mr. Coda, are appointments by the board.
Gentlemen, do you all have any appointments for this month?
Yes,
I do not have.
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Mr. Smith.
If it's okay with, all nine into one motion. Okay, Lauren Carter, reappoint her to the Heritage Public Library. Ingeborg Fisher, Center for Local History, and Charles Carter to the Wetlands Board. That's my appointments and my motion, sir.
All right. Discussion on Mr. Smith's motion. Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? My vote is aye. Any other appointments? All right. At this time, then we will move on past appointments. Dr. Russell?
The next item on the agenda is the Charles City County Memorandum of Agreement for administration of our indoor plumbing program with Housing Partnerships, Inc., who has been a multi-year partner in administration with our IPR program. At this time, we are recommending approval of that agreement.
Okay, hold on just a minute. We moved item A, so now are you at item V? Okay, you're at item B now, correct?
Yes, sir.
Repeat that again, please. Sorry to do that to you.
That's okay. This item B is a proposed memorandum of understanding between Charles City County and Housing Partnerships Incorporated, who has been our partner for a multi-year period in administration of the indoor plumbing rehabilitation program in coordination with the Charles City County Housing Task Force. And staff is recommending that we continue this mutually beneficial relationship and enter into the MOU.
All right, thank you, Dr. Russell. Sorry to do that. Gentlemen, do you all have any questions? If not, floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, motion approval of the grant.
Your motion is for the approval of the MOU, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. All right, any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? My vote is aye. Dr. Russell?
Mr. Coda, Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, the next item on the agenda is a proposal to support a funding request of $27,335,000 to Charles City County Public Schools from our CARES Act COVID-19 resources to support some additional items that they have need of, which include water bottle filling stations, air purifiers, dehumidifiers, wireless microphones, and swivels with iPads.
All right, gentlemen. You all have heard the recommendation from Dr. Russell. Floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I motion that we approve the additional funding to assist the schools in the amount of $27,335.
All right, is any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Good to hear from you there, Mr. Black. All right, your vote, Mr. Black? Mr. Smith? And my vote is aye also. Before we move on, Dr. Russell, as far as the CARES Act money, can we make sure that we have at our next board meeting in January a full itemized accounting disclosure, whatever, on how that that expires December 31st. If I'm not, is that correct?
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay. If we could have a full documentation on the CARES Act money and how it was spent at our January meeting, I would appreciate it if that's okay with my colleagues.
I'm fine with that.
All right, moving right along.
Mr. Coda, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
The next item on the agenda is a proposed resolution regarding truck traffic on the Old Union Road, State Route 603.
Dr. Russell, if I can interrupt for just a moment. Mr. Smith, this is definitely your area, and this has been a very hot topic. Is this something that we want to proceed with this evening? Mr. Smith, what is your pleasure on this?
Mr. Chairman, I just want to put it on the agenda, make sure the citizens know that we're still trying to get those trucks off of those two roads up there. I would ask tonight that with a gentleman's agreement, we're not taking the action. And the reason being, I received several calls today, and I have an individual that I would like to go talk to before we take any further action on this.
All right, then, Mr. Smith, would you like to motion to defer until January?
That is my motion, sir.
All right, Mr. Smith. Any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith? Mr. Black? My vote is
I
aye.
may
Thank you.
interject, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Smith. We did get information from Henrico County that they may reconsider that joint resolution. They still haven't made a decision yet, but we did get did get some information from Henrico County, so they are revisiting that option. So I don't know when we will hear back from them.
Well, I did get even a letter today that maybe I could talk to the chairman of their board, and he would reconsider. That's why I want to defer it until later. So thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. All right, Dr. Russell?
The next item that is included on our agenda, Mr. Coda, is the return of property to the White family, property that was formerly donated to Charles City County to accommodate public utilities that are no longer being used. Staff recommends that the board authorize a public hearing at your January meeting to discuss disposition of public property.
So we have to take this to public hearing, Dr. Russell?
Yes.
To give back land that was given to us?
Yes, sir. It is public property, so it's disposition of public.
Okay. I don't have a problem at all with that. So do you need a motion to take it to public hearing?
Yes, sir.
All right, gentlemen. At last month's meeting, I just wanted a verification about the double well property as far as having the primary and backup well, which that was verified through Mrs. Johnson. So I'm very comfortable with transferring or taking it to public hearing to transfer this land back to Mr. Roy White, who actually purchased the property. So I'll need a motion to take this to public hearing in January, Dr. Russell?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Chairman, make a motion that we will have a public hearing on the. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that we take this to public hearing at our next Board of Supervisors meeting for the Roy White property.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Is there any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr. Smith?
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
My vote is aye also. And I think that probably answered Dominic White's questions over there. So hopefully if it didn't, you can always get back with us later. Continue on, Ms. Dr. Russell.
Next item on our agenda is a grant from Library of Virginia from Circuit Court. So we're going to bring in Ms. Pemberton. We'd like to bring in Mrs. Pemberton, Mr. Coda, for this agenda item.
All right, welcome, Ms. Pemberton.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Ms. Russell. Yes, I'm going to touch on 2 grants, and I'll be very quick in doing so. Earlier this month, the county's clerk of circuit court was successful in securing $21,765 in grant funding through the Library of Virginia's Circuit Court Records Preservation Program. And specifically, this funding was earmarked for item conservation. And basically, the intent of this program is to equip localities with the resources they need to promote item conservation efforts. And at this time, we're asking for your approval to accept these funds and to perform a corresponding amendment to the current year
All right,
budget to reflect this revenue. In your packets, you will see you'll have copies of additional program, like the full grant letter and additional details should you want to do some extra reading.
Thank you, Ms. Pemberton. All right, gentlemen, you've heard the recommendation from staff. The floor is open for motion.
Mr. Chairman, a motion that we approve accept the funds in $21,765.50. We accept that and also amend the FY21 budget.
All right. Thank you for the motion, sir. Is any discussion on Mr. Black's motion? Your vote, Mr. Black?
Aye.
Mr. Smith?
Aye.
My vote is aye. Dr. Russell?
The next item, Mr. Coda, is a second funding opportunity, municipal utility relief funding. And Ms. Pemberton will present that item as well.
Yes. As we've discussed earlier, county staff continues to pursue opportunities or kind of search for opportunities that could potentially bring additional COVID relief funding to the county. And most recently, county staff submitted an application to a sub-program, the Municipal Utility Relief Program, which is an effort designed to bring much needed financial assistance to customers of county utility systems who have incurred overdue balances due to economic hardships from the pandemic. And county staff submitted an application. The way it works, county staff submits an application on behalf of, I guess, the group of customers overall. And we are successful in securing $9,843 in potential funding. The way this works is to maximize that dollar amount. The underlying county customers must submit a certification statement saying that they are claiming economic hardship due to the pandemic, and return those forms to the Charles City Public Works Department by December 30th, I believe. And with that, the county will be able to pass along this relief funding to kind of help with those overdue balances. And all customers should have received it with their December billing, which went out this past week, would have received all necessary paperwork to submit that. So so we encourage all residents who are currently customers on the county's utility system to please explore this opportunity if you're eligible, and let the Public Works Department know how they can best help you. But this evening, for the board, these additional program details are also in your packets, but I would welcome any questions at this time that you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Pemberton. Gentlemen, do you all have any questions at all? If not, the floor is open for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, move that we accept the COVID-19 Municipal Utility Relief Fund in the amount of $9,843.
All right, is any discussion on Mr. Smith's motion? Your vote, Mr.
Yes, sir, it
Oh,
is.
go ahead.
I'm just curious, if all the customers that receive these letters or this information, if all of them would be eligible, and if not, is it possible for us to supplement that? That's just my question to you all and to staff.
And to be more specific, in terms of this relief program, it's specifically geared towards customers with balances, I believe, in over 60 days. So, and those details are outlined in the letter that went out. But all of those, any customers who fall into that category are certainly eligible.
Will all of them benefit from the 9,800? Sorry, Mr. Chairman, but would all of them benefit from the $9,800 or?
If they have, I guess, arrear or balances in arrears, which meet that certain threshold, and if they submit a certification statement, then yes.
I think you have to meet certain criteria before they be eligible, if I'm correct.
This is for customers that are on our water and sewer. Is that correct, Ms. Pemberton? Because that's the only county utilities we have. Okay.
Correct.
I mean, $9,800 would go pretty far, if I'm not mistaken, because
Right, it's not a large number of customers to begin with.
well, not only that, $9,800 would go pretty far because our bills are pretty minimal in the county as far as water and sewer go. So, but Mr. Black asked a specific question that I heard, and that was, could we supplement this? And I would have to say that today's answer would be no. Am I right to say that? Because I mean, we don't have any program in place or any criteria listed for the actual county to supplement this beyond the $9,800. Because I think you asked that, Mr. Black. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, I did. And if that is the case, we have to look, I believe, further down the line into putting something in place for that cause or some other benefit for the county, well, residents in the county who are suffering from various things due to COVID. So,
Mr. Black, as one board member, I would be more than happy to hear anything that you would like to propose along those lines, and say our January meeting or whatever, to where we could assist people like you're talking here, because that would be something very good for you to bring back to the, to work with staff and bring back in our January meeting. All right. No other discussion. Your vote, Mr. Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Black?
Aye.
And my vote is aye also. Dr. Russell.
Mr. Coda, the next item on the agenda is an update on our broadband activities with SCS Broadband. So we have a December 14th report from SCS Broadband, and in summary, that report indicates that 8 Charles City County constituents have subscribed for services. We have executed a lease agreement to relocate our tower to Wilcox Next Road on the Tench property. That construction start has not happened as of yet. We are aware that there is an interest in getting a propagation map for the reach or the radius of the coverage area for the Wilcox Next Road property. We will make the provider aware of that and distribute that information.
Dr. Russell, if you could, and I hammer Mrs. Johnson on this, I would love to see the SCS report in writing. I had requested to be kept updated as we went along from actually November. I would also like to find out how the 8 that have signed up so far, how the service is for them. So any and all information pertaining to broadband that we can forward out to our constituents, we can't forward enough information. This has been a long road. We're at the end of it. I would love to see any and all information sent, especially to the board members, and then, out to the constituents. So if you could really expand on that and get SCS to funnel any information they can to the board members, I would be most appreciative.
Yes, sir.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Russell.
Okay.
Next item.
The next item on the agenda, Mr. Coda, is an update regarding the Comcast infrastructure status. And so we have a December 12th report from Comcast that was also included in your board package that indicates that Comcast is 92% complete with their infrastructure implementation program. Want to compare that in relationship to that about 50% of their grant time frame has been expended. So as they report, they are above, significantly ahead of schedule, and they have expended about $1.2 million for material cost and labor. Mr. Daughtry was, when we spoke, indicated that their immediate next steps will be advertising their service availability.
All right, so they're at 92% completion. Only 8% more to go, and then we'll be able to find out exactly what areas will be covered and what houses will be covered, I hope. Information that we've been longing for quite a while. Thank you for that, and I look very forward to the 100% completion date. If you would relay to Mr. Daughtry any and all information such with SCS would be greatly appreciated.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I'd just like to put a comment out there in regards to, I noticed someone put in the public comment period, that's how we're spending our money, mentioning the way in which we're spending taxpayers' money. Well, in regards to internet, as we're coming to completion, I'm curious if it's possible to spend money in the form of adding additional homes, supplementing Comcast or one of our other service providers to connect those homes, to go the distance down those roads. I know we were talking about that at one point, but I'm wondering if that's an option in the future.
Actually, that was a very extreme hot topic between that I had with the EDA back some months ago when we finally completed the tower construction in the new tower for SCS. We were looking at any and all options, and we were looking at ways to supplement the sign-ons because of the cost that it was going to be. So that is something that has been looked at in the past unsuccessfully, but that is something that I would be very open to looking forward to going forward, because the more people we can get signed on, the more successful we are. So thank you, Mr. Black, for that comment. If no other comments, then Mrs. Johnson, that's habit, Dr. Russell. We'll move on to item K.
Mr. Coda, Mr. Smith, and Mr. Black, the next item is in reference to the state of the county and board retreat proposed meeting dates. And so staff is proposing that we consider a recess of tonight's meeting until your January 11th, 2021 meeting at 8:30 to consider our budget meeting. And then later on that same date at 6 p.m. that we would hold virtually the state of the county address. We're also proposing to have a board retreat on January 16th at 9 a.m.
All right. We don't need board action on that. So that is just that, because we always recess out of this meeting to our budget meeting in January. That is the meeting that, just so the public knows, that we will actually do our reorganization, where we appoint the chairman, vice chairman, and member for the calendar year. Thank you for that. And you don't need any board action on that, do you, Ms. Dr. Russell?
I believe that we need the recess to the 11th as a formal
I'll do that
board
at the end of the meeting. I'll do that at the end of this meeting.
Mr. Cutter, did we miss the staff recognition item on the agenda? I think.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I marked through it. I apologize. Let's finish up with this and then we'll go right to that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may interject at this time, so I want to make sure that we're clear that we're adding the January 16th, I think that's the date, for 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Board retreat. So that's on a Saturday. So that means you would be, Mrs. Smith, don't you shake your head. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys agree to that. And then also on the 11th, we would do 8 to 3. We usually go to about 4, but then we would have 4 public hearings. The 2 from Ms. Denise Smith from last month. Then we would have the 1 for Mr. White from tonight. And want to go ahead and get those public hearings prior to the meeting. So that would be a long day for you guys. We just wanted to make sure that you guys were in agreement with that. Mr. Black, don't you side-eye me.
Ms. Johnson, as long as this is properly notified to the public of the items that we will do, since we are now conducting business on that day versus just listening to budget presentations, that day there is normally not any board action taking. Since we are now changing that scenario, and this is the reason that we have the policy about recess meetings coming before us again next month. As long as the public is properly notified, I do not have a problem with that at all. As one board member, we can do those public hearings that day and all. I would like to be very specific as to the times that we will have those public hearings so that the public can attend or be virtual and be, and notify that they are going to be public hearings held so that they can tune in at that time.
So, Mr. Chairman, the virtual would have happened at 6 o'clock if you guys are in agreement with that. And then it would be a virtual meeting only. And we would also put out an agenda to cover the items that we will be conducting that day. 8 to 3 doing budget workshop for hearing internal and external budget requests. And then at the 6 o'clock hour, holding the 3, I think it's 3 or 4 public hearings, Rhonda? You have one?
White, and then we have the Ms. Smith's 2. And we are still having the regular meeting, right? On the 26th.
Yeah, we're still having it.
We have a proposed public hearing on the 26th.
Okay, so on the 11th, we would have the 2 public hearings for the Commissioner of Revenue, and we would have the public hearing for Mr. Roy White's property exchange at the 6 o'clock hour only on the 11th. And so we will advertise that and put the agenda out.
And you're going to have the state of the county at the same time.
And I'm sorry, it will be 4. It'll be one more, the Habitat for Humanity public hearing that you gentlemen agreed last month to exchange property that one of my predecessors had committed the county to. So it would be the 4 public hearings. Mr. White, Habitat for Humanity, and 2 for the Commissioner of Revenue at the 6 o'clock hour. And then I would do the state of the county.
So we're going to be here from 8 a.m. until probably 10 p.m. that day?
No, I would say around 7:30-ish. We do it all the time, Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Johnson, you have yet to do a state of the county that was less than an hour, because when you get on that soapbox, did I say that? I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm fine with that, Ms. Johnson and Dr. Russell. Whatever the board decides to do, that's fine with me. I can be here all day.
Mr. Black and Mr. Smith, your sentiments.
On the 11th?
I'll be here.
All right, thank you guys so much. We're going to get a lot done. We'll be together all day.
Can't wait. All right. Um, Dr. Russell, sorry, employee recognition. We did take item H and marked through it, and I wrote employee recognition out to the right, and I missed it, so I'll take the heat for that one. Let's do employee recognition, please.
Yes, sir.
So, Mr. Chairman, we really want to thank you guys this evening, but we have a little surprise. She's going to be really, really mad. She could not understand why she had to come to this Board of Supervisors meeting. But tonight we want to recognize Miss Lisa Jones for 8 years of outstanding service. Lisa, you know I had to do it tonight because I'll be out on medical leave in January when you leave out. But we have something that we wanted to present to you. Mr. Coda can't present it to you tonight. Mr. Smith and Mr. Black are in the room because Mr. Coda has a cold, but we want to thank you for 8 years of amazing service. Ladies and gentlemen, I can say for the last 8 years, we've had outstanding service from Ms. Jones. If anybody knows me, knows that I live by visions. I always have great visions for the community. And so for the last 3 years as county administrator, she has helped me tremendously in carrying out a lot of the visions. So the volunteer banquet, the Black Sox baseball game, the concert series, the Veteran Day, all of those events that are new and improved in Charles City County. I had the vision, handed it over to Miss Lisa Jones. She took the reins and just made it happen. And tonight we want to recognize her. In January, she will be retiring from Charles City County with 8 years of service. And I unfortunately will not be here in January. I will be out on medical leave, but I wanted to recognize you and thank you personally for being my right hand, my left hand, being in front of me, being behind me, for always supporting me. And tonight we have a really pretty plaque that says, "We hereby present Lisa Jones for your unwavering support that helped in leading our path to success." And this is presented by the Board of Supervisors, December 2020. And at this time, Mr. Chairman, I will yield to you and your colleagues for additional comment.
I'm tearing up back here, so I'm going to let them go first so that I can wipe the tears from my eyes to make a comment or comments about Ms. Jones. So, gentlemen, you all go first.
Miss Jones, I haven't been here for a while, for a long time, but throughout this time, you've helped me tremendously, and I really appreciate that, and I wish you could stay. So goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well said, my new colleague.
Ms. Jones, I've been knowing you for a long, long time, and I really have enjoyed working with you. Anytime I call and need anything, you're right there and you will supply it. You always get back in touch with me. So I'm going to miss you, but I can tell you, you will retire. You're going to enjoy it. I know I have, but I'll leave somewhere else. I'll really enjoy it more. But hate to see you leave, but enjoy your retirement.
Lisa Jones. Lisa Jones. The last 9 years have been a roller coaster. Oh, there she is, right there. I told you I was going to tear up, and I was going to make a motion not to accept your resignation. But I will tell you, a lot of people have no idea what has gone on behind the scenes between me and Lisa Jones. I have done stuff to her on that stage just so I could see her reaction. And she had to sit there with a straight face looking out at the audience and not being able to crack a smile over something that I did to her. But you have truly, without a shadow of a doubt, been not only inspiring, but you've kept me in line. You've told me to shut up when I need to shut up, which was quite often. And I tell you from the bottom of my heart, you have been just an asset to this organization. I was so lucky to be able to come onto this board at the same time you came on, and I'm indebted to you forever. You're just you're definitely top shelf all the way, and I could go on and on and on, but thank you so much for everything that you've done for me personally and for Charles City County from the bottom of my heart.
Well, you are so welcome, and thank y'all for the gift. I really do appreciate it. And I just want to say that I really did enjoy coming in, working for the county, working for this board. It meant a lot to me just to give something back to the community that I live in. I'm gonna miss the employees. I'm gonna miss everyone, everybody's different personalities. It's just been a pleasure and a treat. And I hope everybody do good. Y'all will have Miranda. She's gonna take care of y'all. So treat her well. If you don't, she's gonna take care of that anyway. But it's just been a pleasure working with everybody. And I'll still be in the county, so I'll still see everyone every once in a while.
Well, you do know, Mrs. Jones, that Rita Copman does come back quite often to work part-time, so we would expect for you to do the same thing too, to help out, in times of need.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Coda,
Yes, sir.
do you want to read those two comments that was geared toward Ms. Jones?
Let's see here. I think it says, congratulations, Lisa Jones, on your retirement. Have fun. We love you, Brenda and Donald. And then somebody says, congratulations, Auntie. That's Sam Ray. Well-deserved retirement. Love Tracy and Sam Ray. You're going to be very, very missed. I think,
Okay.
is there any more? No, that's the only two that I see. So thank you. Thank you for your service. All right. Dr. Russell, upcoming events, I believe we are at.
Yes, sir. So Mr. Coda, Mr. Smith, Mr. Black, members of the community participating virtually, Charles City County administrative offices will be closed for the holidays from December 24th through December 28th. Normal business hours will resume on Tuesday, December 9th, 2020. And then for the new year, Charles City County administrative offices will be closed on Friday, January 1st in observance of the new year. Normal business hours will resume as of Monday, January 4th. On President's Day, Charles City County administrative offices will be closed on January 8th in observance of President's Day 2021. And then our offices will be closed again in observance of Martin Luther King Jr.'s holiday on Monday, January 18th. And then we have our Board of Supervisors monthly report, which was left at your desk upon your arrival. And this is now we are on to our second comment period, Mr. Coda.
Is that all you have, Dr. Russell?
That's all we have for upcoming.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We don't need to. At this time, it will take us to our second and last public comment period. If you would like to type in a comment, please do at this time. I'm going to read a couple. Sheila Wynn Bradby says, I would think the citizens would benefit best by contacting Senior Connections, social services, or other local services for utility assistance outside of what the grant provides. Thank you, Ms. Bradby, for that. Steve Furman, as usual, you are exceeding your 3 minutes by offering 3 different comments, but I'm going to go ahead and read those to give people time to type in any more. At the 12-3 S-Power virtual meeting, S-Power stated that their presentation will be publicly available. Could the presentation be placed on the county website? We will look into seeing that happens. How is the county inspecting and approving construction at the C4GT power plant site? And then third, when will the FY20 audit financial report be placed on the county website? And that should be done pretty quickly. So that was comments received from Steve Furman. Nancy Drew Harris stated that during the week taxes were due, the treasurer's office was closed, I believe because of staffing. My main concern is in order to pay taxes online, there is a fee. My suggestion is for future occurrences, the fee either be waived, or if that is not possible or beyond the county's control, the charge be taken off the citizen's future tax bill. I will address that during our directives and comments also. Pat Bazier, it says were county offices closed due to COVID-19 or for another reason? That's another question. And Steve Furman is asked, I'm gonna give you one more, Steve. Our DSL has been very unstable this evening, as is quite often. We are 500 feet from the end of Comcast line, and the SCA states they will not reach our location. Is there anyone else that would like to post a comment? Please do at this time. And in closing, Pat Bazier says, thank you for the beautiful Christmas lights at the county complex. I noticed those when I came in this evening, looked very well. At this time, I will close the public comment period. Feel free to contact your board representative or Miranda in our county administrator's office. If you have any additional comments or questions, she can be reached at all times. Gentlemen, at this time, that takes us to our board directives and comments. Mr. Black?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'd just like to thank everyone for their prayers and their thoughts. And during my time of being sick and shut in, I had COVID-19, and my whole family was quarantined, and it was not pretty. It wasn't fun. I was in real pain, and I needed that rest and time to recover. And I really appreciate you all for thinking about my family. And I just want you all, and I urge you all to put your mask on and continue to practice social distancing throughout our county, washing your hands and following the CDC guidelines. Beyond that, I like to mention VDOT. VDOT has been doing things throughout our community, especially on Rootfield Road with trapping of beavers. And it's been proven to work, and hopefully it continues to do that as they monitor that roadway. And that's all I had. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Black. Mr. Smith?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to reiterate some of the things that Mr. Black said. I wish everyone a very happy holiday, and please be safe, follow the CDC guidelines. I know we always celebrate and we join together with our family and friends, but this is a time I'm hoping that we will distance ourselves and try to be safe as this COVID-19 or the symptoms are really raging in Charles City County and everywhere else. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be careful. We look forward to seeing you all again in 2021.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. A few things. There was a question stated. Let me take care of the business side of this first. And I need to run back up here. There was a question asked about whether the food pantry that the county is putting together, would it be run in conjunction with the current food pantry? And I think that is called the Promised Land Storehouse. We have not been successful in attempting to actually merge these two food pantries together. We had acquired funding to supply the refrigeration units and the freezer units and all for the current pantry that is being temporarily housed in the schools. Can our administrator put Mrs. Johnson's face on the screen? Because as I go through, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is true, and I can always look at her head nodding to tell me, oh, there she is. So interrupt me, Ms. Johnson, please, if I'm incorrect. So we acquired the grant money and all in order to get the refrigeration units and the freezer units for the existing pantry. Over the past few months, the county because we are a locality, we did successfully, as you've seen tonight, apply for and receive a $500,000 grant that we have to put up $200,000 in addition to. There was a lot of discussion about that this evening. There was also discussion ongoing about whether or not we could integrate the two food pantries. However, it's been difficult to do, and I actually had a meeting with the executive director of the existing food pantry in the last week that resulted in her in that particular person exiting before the meeting even started, because there was issues about the plumbing, the water coming into this new building. And so I had invited my public works director, Mr. Ricky Hicks, to sit in on the meeting. They did not find that acceptable for whatever reason and declined to meet with us at the time. This is after I closed my business, went and changed, showered to where I could be presentable for this meeting, only for the meeting not to occur. So at this time, we will not be operating our new food pantry in conjunction with the existing food pantry. However, there were statements made from the existing food pantry and also from Feed More that the more food pantries you have, the better off you are, because then you have more outlets in order to reach the citizens of Charles City. So in our view, if both food pantries is better than just one food pantry. So going forward, we will this will be a county staffed and county owned food pantry that we have talked about here this evening. So I wanted to clear up any questions on that.
Mr.
I want to say,
Chairman, if I may interject really quick.
please do.
Earlier, someone asked about the benefactors. Could they be explained for the food pantry? I want to make sure that Miss Harris, Nancy Drew Harris, discussed, the local benefactors, and just to make sure that we clear, Dr. Russell just displayed that we do have a donation of $300,000 from an entity that would like to remain anonymous at this time. And so we're just excited that we have partners that's going to go into this project with us in order to give a higher level of food distribution to the community.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. I know you've been at the very forefront of this all the way through, you and Dr. Russell, and we do appreciate all the hard work that you all and staff have done. Nancy Drew Harris, you stated during public comment that the week the taxes were due, that the offices were closed, and I myself ran into a similar situation that I hope I'm not hit with a penalty, because I was not aware. There was a question on one of my tax bills that I talked to the Commissioner of Revenue on, and she sent me an abatement. But when I went to pay it, I dropped it off at the bank, but the bank can only accept full payment taxes. So if you're not paying the full amount that the tax statement says, which is the case that I was doing, then they can't accept it. Well, I wasn't notified that till after the deadline, because I don't mind telling everybody I wait until the 4th or the 5th to pay my taxes. So there's going to be a lot of discussion going forward between the Treasurer's Department and the Board of Supervisors about late fees and whatnot that was incurred during this time. We're very well aware of it, and I know Ms. Johnson is going to be on this, and also Dr. Russell, talking with Mindy, our treasurer, about late fees and also penalties. In my case, I haven't seen a tax penalty yet, but I feel that I will. So we will be looking at that very, very, very carefully, and because this is trying times and we're going through uncharted waters here. We're trying to read through. Dr. Russell, do you see any other comments or questions that we may want to address? I think Dr. Furman, there's going to be more information coming, as you're well aware of. As a matter of fact, you send me probably more information than I get from any other source about the two power plants, and I appreciate that. As far as the approving the construction at the C4GT plant site, I think you and I both know that they have done the minimal amount of construction in order to maintain their air permit. That was approved by DEQ. I think you sent me the documentation on that, and DEQ has approved that. So at this point, I think you're well versed as much as I am on the construction of the C4 GT plant. And I don't think do you see any? Go ahead, Dr. Russell.
So I see there was a question about whether the meetings are recorded and can be viewed later. I believe.
Yeah,
they
Miranda
are on
answered that for
YouTube.
her.
Okay, and then there was a comment by Miss Pat Bazard about COVID. And then there was a comment about using senior connections for the utility.
Yeah, that really wasn't a
relief
question. Seeley Wynn
programs.
Bradby just put out a statement there that people should be able to contact them, I guess, not unless you all consider that a question. Ms. Johnson?
If I can interject about senior connections, so I represent the Board of Supervisors as chairman of the board for senior connections, and they just received an additional $8,400 for utility assistance for seniors, and so they will be working through our local senior advocate along with Department of Social Services for those seniors who need assistance with utility bills during COVID-19, and so any senior who's needing another assistance can reach out to Anika Gaines. She's with Senior Connections. It's on their website, or they can reach out to the Department of Social Services. They're partnering and coming up with a strategic plan or strategy to disperse those funds to the citizens of Charles City, and it's through the funding came through the United Way Emergency Food and Shelter Program that Charles City participates in. So we're excited to get an additional about $8,400, sir.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Ms. Harris, you stated about the fees for paying online. If I'm not mistaken, those are credit card fees, and that is something that we can't waive because that is what is charged by the credit card companies in order to process credit card payments, because there is a drop box in the parking lot that you can drop your payments and your checks into to pay by check, so you avoid that fee. And if I'm mistaken, I will look into that. And my phone number is under my picture on the website, so you're more than welcome to give me a call at any time on that. But I'm pretty sure that the fees for paying online are the credit card fees, because I think that's the only way you can pay online. I actually charge credit card fees in my own business for the same exact purpose, because it costs so much to process credit cards over the course of a month. And if any, gentlemen, do you all have anything else that you all would like to say before we close the meeting? And Ms. Johnson, do we need an executive tonight?
I would yield to Dr. Russell.
I'm sorry, Dr. Russell, it's purely habit. I've been doing this for a lot of years. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Russell, is there any need for executive session tonight?
Yes, sir. No, sir.
Oh.
No, sir. There is no need for an
Oh,
executive
I see. You all, okay. No problem. We'll get you later. Okay, at this point then, I will recess the meeting until January the 11th at 8:30 a.m. And thank everyone for coming. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year to everyone. Please be safe, as Mr. Black pointed out. Go ahead. Mr. Smith, do you have something?
No, sir.
All right.
Mr.
Dr. Russell.
I sent you a message. I believe there was a question in the chat about why the offices were closed. Did you see that?
What she asked, I think she said, was it due of COVID-19 or something else? But anyway, yeah, it says, was it due to COVID-19 or another reason? And it was, if I'm not mistaken, it was COVID-19, wasn't it? Yeah, Ms. Johnson is shaking her head yes. So COVID-19, folks, has hit us hard in this building. I mean, my own colleague, Mr. Black there, the reason I'm in another room tonight is because I've had a bad, severe cold since Saturday. I've been taking my temperature and checking, hourly to make sure that I do not have any symptoms of COVID. And it just appears that I have a bad cold, but I didn't want to be around Mr. Black, who just has come off of COVID-19, and his immune system, if he were to catch a cold, it may be devastating. So we're even social distancing here tonight. I want to thank staff and everybody, because I didn't know how this meeting was going to go off with me being back here alone and you all up there and all. And no, we're not going to continue to doing it that way, Ms. Johnson. But anyway, I want to thank everybody, and Merry Christmas. And go ahead.
Can I ask really quick? We see the treasurer has made a comment that no citizens were charged a penalty for taxes for the office closing during the COVID-19. So, Mr. Cota, you referenced earlier you were waiting to see your penalty. So the treasurer has waived all penalties and fees due to COVID-19 and the offices being closed. So thank you, Ms. Bradbury, for that comment.
Okay, and I want to make sure that that still does not remove the credit card fees, though. Correct?
Correct. So the credit card fee still will remain.
Okay.
And so we had to, because of the COVID-19, outbreak. And Ms. Harris is saying, the message was sent with insufficient staffing at that time. That was the messaging that went out because we were waiting on test results. And so we just everyone needed to be quarantined, but it was confirmed that there was a COVID-19 case in the treasurer's office. It's all clear. And we're thankful that that person is completely healthy again. So thank you for your patience for that.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And I will recess until January 11th at 8:30 a.m. Hope to see you all there. Good night.